Good afternoon. You're locked into the Red Sea podcast, and we're going live on a one-off special here this afternoon. Arsenal-Liverpool have been postponed in the semi-final cup round tie due to be played tomorrow evening at the Emirates. We'll see the fixture reversed where Liverpool will have the first leg tie at Anfield due to be played later on in January. What does this mean in terms of fixture ramifications and fixture build-up for Liverpool Football Club? How does this stack up with the players here at the AFCON and also the players that are currently injured? Could Liverpool potentially come out of this situation in a better position they currently find themselves in now? Myself and my co-host, Southern Scouser, discuss it on the other side of this intro. Let's go.
Tell the world, we are Liverpool, champions of England.
We've conquered all of Europe. We're never gonna stop. From Palestine to Turkey, we've won the fucking lot. Got Paisley and the Shankly, the fields of Anfield gold. We are all supporters, and we come from Liverpool.
Yes, mate. How are you?
I'm good, mate. I've been waiting for this news to drop all day, and finally we have the news that the game is off. Arsenal fans kicking off about it, but I don't really know what about. It is what it is. We've obviously got a crazy outbreak. Klopp's gone, Linde's has gone. Clearly, we've got less than 14 players available. So, they're comparing it to other games such as Leyton Orient Spurs in the Cup. We played Villa youth team because they had some troubles as well, but it's a two-legged semi-final. The final's not until the end of February, so it's the obvious thing to do, isn't it, to push it back by a week?
I totally agree. And, I've been in a few WhatsApp conversations, which kind of spurred me on to go live this afternoon. All the conspiracy theories are raging. Oh, Liverpool have done it because we've got players away at the AFCON. Oh, Liverpool have done it because we've got injuries. Let's be very, very clear. We're not the first team and we will not be the last in this COVID-stricken season to ask for postponements. But I will concede, it does seem a little bit Jekyll and Hyde. The reason why I feel it seems a bit Jekyll and Hyde, because you don't actually have to declare publicly until after you have the postponement what players have been affected or who has been affected. So it can look very tactical until it comes out. But the rumors are flying around. You've seen all over Twitter. Apparently, we've got no goalkeepers. It could be all the goalkeepers that are out. Apparently, and I've got on good authority that it is a significant number of playing staff that are affected, and also through the medic, and apparently more worryingly, more of them are in the medical team who have full contact with these players on a day-to-day basis. My concern is we're just tipping the iceberg here. I think that in the next week, it will be rife right the way through the whole playing squad, because these staff members would have great, maximum contact with all these players.
Yeah, definitely. And once it hits the core, like you say, if it's hitting the medical team, the club doctor who is in contact with everybody, that it's going to be rife. And even then, so you can't go into a football match with no physio, with no doctor. These are one-off people that you literally cannot go into a game without because of safety. So.
Exactly.
It's definitely rife. We had a couple of postponements a couple of games we didn't get postponed that we had to play, and we did mention the players that were out. We mentioned Van Dijk, Fabinho for the Newcastle game, and then the recent ones we've mentioned Matip, Alisson, and Firmino. So for me, I think it will maybe come out at some point, but the fact that it hasn't is probably because there's just literally all of them. I mean, if they've had to literally cancel training, they've pushed through. Other teams have had a lot of games cancelled. This will be our first one because of us. Not, the Leeds was cancelled because of them. And it is going to affect everybody at some point. We've mentioned Man City seem to have a COVID wall around their stadium. They don't seem to be affected, or they can swallow it up if needed. But this season. But, at some point it is going to hit your team. And once you've got 5, 6, 7, 8 players that have hit it, unfortunately, it's going to go through everybody. We had January 2020. Everybody was on the fitness videos at training on Liverpool, all on the Zoom calls, and you know, you might see a return of that if it continues to go this way. Hopefully we don't. We can manage it. You know, we've got Shrewsbury at the weekend. You would imagine we would probably have played a youthful team anyway, but the problem is that the training ground now is everybody. Kirkby is every level now. So if it's rife in there, they wanted the playing first team squad to be closer to the youth team. This is the downside of it. Something else like a COVID virus can sweep through the entire club. So, you know, I think, to be honest with you, I think if Liverpool could have played this game, they would have done. If they'd have had to play 2-3 first team players that you've heard of and the rest of them under 18s, I genuinely think they would have done it. So it's got to be pretty bad. And looking at Redmen TV talking about it, I think they're spot on. Looking at AFTV talking about it, I'm actually laughing at that. You know, they're actually trying to say African Nations Cup and stuff. They wouldn't be back for this game if it was postponed and rescheduled anyway. So,
exactly.
You know, Liverpool are running scared. No, we just literally don't have any players to play.
Yeah, and I really think it's as simple as that. You know, the interesting thing is that the fixture has now been reversed. So the first leg will be played at Anfield, second leg at the Emirates, which potentially could play into Arsenal's hands.
Yeah.
Potentially that's an advantage, you know, for you to have the second leg at home. You know, for all potentially to play for going into that second leg. And look, I'm not sat here turning around and saying, oh, we should postpone the game. We weren't gunning for it on our last podcast that we did. We weren't even remotely interested by it. The conversations that we had was, no, the show must go on.
Yeah.
You know, the show must go on. And I think that for Liverpool, and especially for Jurgen Klopp, as you mentioned, we must be in a pretty dire straits to have to have done this. So the timeline as we know it, Liverpool actually applied for this postponement 2 days ago because we knew that the situation was escalating very quickly, and that is the maximum time that you can have to actually apply for a postponement, and the league will not grant that until they have all the information to hand. They're not going to just come out and say, oh, you can postpone the fixture because it can potentially have ramifications, i.e., you know, team doing a little bit of gamesmanship. I mean, what's your thoughts on the fact that we applied for this postponement 2 days ago?
I think all you can do is follow the rules, follow the regulations, and that's what we've done. I understand from, you know, the other side of the fence when the Boxing Day game was called off, we were a little bit annoyed because it's a game you look forward to. You're looking forward to watching the game, and you know, you think, oh, come on, Leeds, surely you could have had something. You must have enough players to play it. It's not that different, the gap between your first team and your subs. But when it's flipped round and you think, well, you know, this is a semi-final of a competition that we've got a decent chance of winning. You know, Man City have had this monopolised for 5 years. It's opened up nicely to some other teams that haven't won a domestic cup in a little while. So I definitely want it to go ahead. I wouldn't like it to have to go ahead if we didn't have our first team, or at least a decent enough team to compete, which we saw against Villa when we were in the Club World Cup. So we've had it before, and we've still pushed ahead with games. But like you mentioned, it's flipped round now. The first leg will now be at Anfield on the 13th. We've then got Brentford sandwiched in between, and the 20th will be the return leg at Arsenal. We've then got Crystal Palace on the 23rd. So, you know, not much has changed. All it's really done is just added another midweek fixture, and we've got a little bit of a respite now. You know, probably at a time where we didn't really need one because we've only got Shrewsbury at the weekend anyway. Yeah. But, you know, after that Palace game, we've got about a 2-week break anyway before we play Leicester, and the AFCON guys are back anyway. So it's the same group of fixtures that it would have been. The same group of players should be available, bar the African Nations Cup and bar the injuries here or there. You know, everybody should be back and firing. So, you know, Arsenal are in a similar situation. They've got some COVID outbreaks. They've got El Neni and Nketiah and players that have actually featured in this competition heavily for them would have been missing this game anyway. So, you know, they all pile on Liverpool because it's Liverpool that have applied for the cancellation, but this is helping Arsenal as well.
I totally agree with you. And just quickly, because we're going to get towards the end of this quick installment that we thought would come on and do the timeline as we see it. Liverpool actually applied for this postponement on Tuesday. And Liverpool announced early on Wednesday that the training ground will be closed for at least 48 hours and that Jurgen Klopp's assistant Pep Lijnders had tested positive. Lijnders was due to take the team because Klopp himself is also isolating as well. The request for the postponement, as I said, was on Tuesday after the latest round of testing found more cases in the first team bubble. Klopp and 3 players, Alisson Becker, Roberto Firmino, Joel Matip, and were all forced to miss, obviously, the Chelsea game. The EFL statement on Wednesday confirmed that Arsenal will now play Liverpool in a fortnight of now, and you can see the new scheduled fixture dates running across the timeline at the bottom there as well. It is scary times that we're living in, and the EFL statement reads: the EFL have been in regular dialogue with the club over the past 48 hours in an attempt to understand whether the tie could proceed. But significant developments over this period have resulted in the club reporting an ever-increasing number of COVID cases. That tells me that we're not just talking about those players, which we've said there. There is more. There is more. And significantly, what we're led to believe is in the playing staff, which is the huge concern, because as I said, those people are in contact with the players on a day-to-day basis, or need to be in contact with a day-to-day basis. Having now fully reviewed, and the statement continues, having now fully reviewed the circumstances involved, the league has accepted Liverpool's request after determining, albeit reluctantly, and reluctantly being the key word, these postponements isn't something which we want to do. It's not something which we want to do. We're being forced to do it. Reluctantly, the postponement was the only option as the club looks to mitigate against the further risk of infection amongst its squad staff, alongside ensuring public health was protected by not travelling from Liverpool to London. Had we travelled, we would be in the absolute mud. Could you imagine the public outrage, knowing full well what is going on in our training ground, and we travelled to go and play a fixture? Novak Djokovic is now is due to travel to Australia, potentially not being vaccinated, and the whole world has descended into absolute chaos. Liverpool Football Club want none of that.
No, I agree. Like you say, Liverpool have been the responsible ones here. You know, if the EFL would have forced them to go ahead with it, knowing that we're rife, you know, you can't retest for 90 days because you could still show a positive. So it's, you know, people are going to be at different stages. Some have had it, some are getting it again, some are getting a different variant, some aren't showing yet, but may show in a few days. So the safest thing to do, let's just remove football from this for a moment. Definitely. Do we want to make COVID any worse than it currently is if we can help it? The answer is obviously no. So, you know, this can't go ahead. This, you know, even if we were to manage to get a team together, half of that team could genuinely not know that they have it and might test positive the day after the game. We had some in the Euros as well. Players were testing positive a day after they played. So, you know, let's be honest. You know, it is annoying. I understand people might have booked their tickets, booked their hotels, booked their travel, booked the day off work. I get that. But you know that this can happen at any point over the next 2 years. You know, you have to realize that this is, you know, there's insurance that you have to say, if I'm going to book a travel, if I'm going to book a holiday, it can be cancelled. So it's rubbish, unfortunately. But, you know, the best thing has happened out of it is we're still going to play it. It's still going to go ahead. It's just 2 weeks later with the leg switch round. So for me, best outcome, you know, we'll replay this game very, very soon. And with a fair enough go at it, because the final isn't, as I say, until the end of February. So it's not like we're trying to get it in before a draw or get it in before the next round, because Spurs had a Conference League game which they had to postpone because the Conference Group stage ended. You know, it's very different when it's European travel, trying to fit in leagues versus leagues. But this is a domestic competition. Liverpool and Arsenal have got a very, very similar fixture list. We were due to play Arsenal the weekend of the final anyway, so that's obviously been postponed because one of us will be playing in the final. So it's very, very simple process. And I think the EFL Cup is already on its knees a little bit in terms of, do we really need 2 domestic competitions? So, you know, they don't want to make this any worse, any more of a farce than it already is. Imagine saying, that's it, Arsenal get a 3-0 win, second leg, you start at 3-0 down. Something, you know, it would be ridiculous. So they had to do this. There was space in the calendar to do it, and, you know, may the best team win. We'll find out. But that's me. I'm gonna have to head off back to work now.
Yeah, and we are just going to close. And thank you for joining us on this quick one, SS. So we'll let you get off to work, and it's all about the integrity of the competition, as everybody says. Liverpool have always been, you know, accused of not respecting the integrity of the competition, and this is what we're doing. We want to field the strongest team possible, as everybody's saying, and we're unable to do that in the current circumstances. So, mate, thank you for joining us. I'll continue on from here, and I'll catch you later, my man.
Take care. See you later, mate.
Take care, pal. Take care. So just to close, the Liverpool Football Club statement reads, Liverpool Football Club would like to place on record its thanks to the EFL and Arsenal for their understanding. So Arsenal have obviously been involved in these conversations as well, and would be well aware, or probably were well aware before the news actually broke via Sky that this was actually going to happen. So Liverpool Football Club would like to place on record its thanks to the EFL and Arsenal for their understanding, as well as the supporters of both clubs, as we continue to navigate through this challenging period. Just to close, Liverpool were without a total of 9 players before this latest round of testing, which has revealed more positive cases in the playing staff and the staff around the training ground. Liverpool, as it says here, without 9 players through illness, injury, and subsequently loss of Mohamed Salah, Naby Keita to Sadio Mane to the African Cup of Nations duty. Read what you want to read into it, but it cannot be ignored that the fixtures are piling up. As SS said, Shrewsbury due to be played on the 9th of January in the FA Cup third round tie. Then we will have the Arsenal game at home, which will be January the 11th. Then Brentford on the 16th. Then Arsenal again on the 20th, and then Crystal Palace on the 23rd. Liverpool will now play every 3 days between now and the end of January. That in itself could be catastrophic for any player health, any season, anything that we're looking at achieving in this season. The sheer number of games that are mounting up, and that's before any further postponements. I personally believe that the Shrewsbury game will also be postponed. So could Liverpool Football Club be looking at a forfeit? Could we be in a position where we have to forfeit games in order to respect the integrity of the Premier League competition? Because if, for example, and as I understand it, if this fixture goes past, or we have to postpone this fixture past the next round, we have to forfeit. That is a very, very difficult position to place Liverpool Football Club in, because as SS said, it's the first time for a while that we have been challenging for a domestic cup, and we've always been accused of not respecting the integrity of the competition. So guys, I'm going to leave you. Thank you for joining us on this quick episode of the Red Sea podcast, where we discussed the postponement of Arsenal-Liverpool in a semi-final of the Carabao Cup. You can catch us again on our Transfer Tuesday show, which will be again at 9 o'clock on Tuesday next week. We'll be discussing all the latest transfer rumours for where Liverpool Football Club are related, and potentially discussing some rival clubs' transfer business as well, and how it could potentially affect us. Like I said, thank you for joining us. I've been Thiago's father. Take care. Bye for now.